Hi everyone, it's Jane here, Card Days Night for Time for Tea Designs. Today, for this month's blog tutorial, we are going to be making a no-line watercolour card using the Sundae Sweeties stamp set from the previous release for Time for Tea Designs. This stamp set is so cute. It's got two really big images which are absolutely perfect for no-line watercolouring. And there's a nice big space for you to be able to colour. It's the first time you've done this. You don't want to be choosing a whole scene or a really kind of fiddly image. This has got some nice big spaces for you to colour, and the size of the images will take up most of your A2 size card. And so it's a really good way of creating a card. I'm starting off here with a piece of watercolour paper which I've cut down to just smaller than A2 size. The paper is from Daler Rowney and it is hot pressed watercolour paper. The reason why I use hot pressed paper is because it has got a smoother surface, and so when you stamp your image on it, it picks up the details easier than the cold press, which has got a slightly bumpier surface. So that's really helpful for when we're doing our no-line watercolouring. I'm just popping the image into my Misty here, and the ink that I'll be using is Antique Linen ink, Distress ink, and it's a really pale colour, which is really good for no-line watercolouring because the lines are harder to see when you finish, so obviously it gives that effect that you've kind of painted the image yourself, and it gives you that no-line effect that we're going for. Today I'm going to be using a clipboard to take my image to for two reasons. First of all, when you mask it down, it helps prevent the paper from warping when you're applying moisture to it. And the second thing is it's a less reflective surface, so it's easier for me to film and you don't have to look at my reflection the whole time. It can help when you're applying your masking tape to press it onto your clothes first, and that'll take some of the stickiness off the back and make it less likely that your paper will tear when you remove the masking tape later on. I'll just talk you through the brushes that I'm using. These are Daler Rowney ones. This one is a 1/2 inch flat brush, which is good for covering large areas if you wanted to wet the whole background. And these are two smaller, kind of more round tips, and I'll be using those for the detail. You could also use a water brush like this, which you actually fill with water. You can pick up the colour, apply it directly to the page, and then squeeze some water out through the brush, and some people find that they get more control that way. These are some other brushes that I've also got which come in lots of different shapes and sizes. I've got just a mug of clean water here, and I will show you what we're going to be using for our colour today. I'm going to be using the Karen Brush Marker Pros. You can obviously just use traditional watercolours if you want to. I really like this set. I wish I'd bought the bigger one actually, but there you go. So what I'm going to do today is apply the colours directly to the craft mat. So you can do that with any slick surface, or you can use a watercolour palette like that as well. But I like to apply it directly to my glass mat and then pick the colour up with the brush and apply it directly to the page. So we'll get started here in the centre of the image with the cherry on the top of the Sundae. What I'm going to do is just apply some clean water to the area that I want to paint. That helps the colour to move along nicely. Then I'm going to pick the colour up from the glass mat and then apply it to the image in the areas where you would expect there to be more shadow. So if you're not sure about that, there's loads of great resources online, or you can look on YouTube for tutorials on light source. But basically what I do is imagine where the light would be coming from on my image, and then apply shadows to the kind of opposite side of that. So today my light source is going to be coming from the top right, so all of my shadows will be on the bottom left. So I'm applying my colour to that area first, And then I'm going to pick up some clean water with my brush and then just pull the colour outwards towards where the light source would be, so you get a gradual transition from dark to light. Don't worry if the colour transition seems quite gradual at first. Really, we just want to put down a first layer of colour here, and we will come back later and add in further layers until we're happy with the depth of colour and the shading. I'm just going to zoom you guys in a little bit more actually, so you can see a bit better what I'm doing. So there you go. And we're just moving on to the flake now. Exactly the same as what I did with the cherry. Apply some water to the area that you want to paint, and then pop the colour down in the area where it will be darkest. Pull that out with the clean water towards the lightest area. Also make sure when you move on to the next part of your painting that you choose an area that doesn't touch the bit that you've just watercoloured, because if it's still wet the colours will run into each other. So give the first area a bit of time to dry before you colour your next area. And you can use a heat gun to help the drying process if you want to. I prefer to let mine air dry, but today I did use a heat gun just for the purpose of filming this video. Another thing that you might see me do during the video is just dab the page a little bit with a paper towel. So sometimes if you get a bit too much water on your page, you might lose control a little bit of where the colour is going. So that's absolutely fine to get a piece of kitchen towel, just use the corner of it and just sop up some of that extra water and then keep going. So to do this whole image probably did take me quite a while. I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour, something along those lines. So what I'm going to do is speed up this video for you so you can watch the entire painting process if you want, but obviously not in real time. So if you don't want to watch the whole thing, feel free to skip forwards to the end where I make the image into a card. But for now, I will leave you with the painting process. point here, I'm just going to ground my image so that it's not kind of floating in midair, and how I'm going to do that is just by applying a little bit of grey to the base of the Sundae glass, which I'm really sorry but I managed to cut off here. And then again a very light wash of blue colour around the cat and the rest of the image. And then I'm going to add in my details with a fine liner. This is a micron pen. I'm just going to add in the eyes and the mouth there, just so we don't lose those details. And then I'm going to add some interest and some texture to the image by splattering the background with some white and black paint. So I'm using a white acrylic paint here. You can use a white gouache or even watercolour, and whatever you've got available. So I'm going to put a little blob of this onto an acrylic block, and then I'm going to grab some of my clean water and just water this down on the block until it is runny enough to be able to flick off the side of the block. So that's what I'm going to do. You use my brush and just flick the paint off the side of the block directly onto the image. The bigger the brush you use, the bigger paint splatters you'll get, and again, the closer that you go to your page, the bigger paint splatters you'll get. So obviously just bear that in mind when you're doing that. Once I have finished applying the white, I'm going to repeat the process again, but with some black paint, and I've just used black watercolour from a small kind of travel watercolour palette that I've got, nothing fancy. Once you're happy with the coverage that you've got on there, you can peel away the masking tape carefully. Try and peel it away from the image so that if it does tear the paper at all, it doesn't rip any of your image after all of your hard work. I'm really starting to like how this is looking now. As you can see, all of the lines from around the outside of the edges become really faint, almost invisible once you've applied your paint, and you get that lovely no-line watercolour effect as if you've painted the image yourself. So now it's time to create a card from our image. So I've just chosen the Sweet Friends sentiment from the Sundae Sweeties set and stamped that on with black ink. And I'm now applying a few embellishments. These are the beauty sequins from Little Things by Lucy, which I absolutely love, and there's a great range in the Time for Tea Design shop for you to choose from. I'm just popping these down with some Tombow liquid glue, and I'm using my embellishment wand to pop them into place. So the next thing I'm going to do is pop our finished image onto a card base, and I've used soft smoke card from the Time for Tea Design store. I'm popping this up on some foam tape for dimension, but also because it helps with any warping that you might have got on your card from the water. And that is our card finished for today. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and I hope to see you again next month for another step-by-step tutorial. Bye!